Guys, I have tremendous news. It's Bell Night at the Race World First.
Yeah, we got the bell on the way. We got Kalamazoo collecting the Taco Bell from Michael at some point in the near future. Welcome, Cams, back to the Race World First room. So here's our Race World First recap video. What's happened today? Stix Bunkjunker has finally died. After over 100 pulls, the fourth boss of the raid has fallen to Team Liquid, and Echo are in the low single digits at the time recording this, so by the time this video is out, Echo may have killed that boss as well. Method have fallen a little bit behind, actually. Now they're looking at being still in the 30s, I think, at the time we're recording this on that boss. So perhaps a bigger gap opening up between them and Echo than we had in previous tiers.
I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, Sprocketmonger Locknstock, Liquid, after killing Stix Bunkjunker, they pulled Sprocketmonger for maybe an hour and a half on stream.
I was surprised they did it on stream. It seemed like the perfect time to do some off-stream pulling.
It's the fifth boss.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't, but I was surprised. I was surprised and happy. It was serendipity. That's the word for a pleasant surprise.
I think it's one of those things that it's the fifth boss of the raid. You know, the raid is abnormally hard. I think that everybody's kind of buckling in for a really long raid.
Yes. I mean, the question is the difficulty going to get easier from here, which it could either organically be, or like through us getting more gear for the second reset. Whoa! Oh my god, that is a lot of food.
Who got some drinks?
Ooh, this one's for me. I got the strawberry freeze.
Well, I probably have the other one.
The other one's probably Zyra, yeah.
I literally just copied his order and changed it.
All right.
All right.
We are going crazy here. Dude, these things are so good.
Okay, so...
Look at that sack! Kalamazoo for the video. How much did that cost? $120. Really? Tip or with the tip?
All right. So yeah, it's one of those things that I think that probably the most likely day that this is going to end is probably still going to be next reset, but I'm thinking like Sunday.
So even if Sprocketmonger is quite tough, One-Armed Bandit's quite tough, they might be tough in the context of week 1 gear, and we're not going to see them with week 1 gear, right? We're going to see One-Armed Bandit and Muggsy almost entirely with week 2 gear at this point, which is going to be stronger.
Yeah, I think overall, though, this race has been super interesting. I think that Max commented on a couple times talking about the raid tuning here being generationally bad, I believe is the exact quote.
Yeah, he's not happy with the tuning, which something that makes sense, right? If you're bashing your head against this boss this early in the raid, that does make sense.
What did you think about Sprocketmonger Locknstock? So it was kind of an interesting fight where they were basically the mythic mechanic is like a polarity mechanic. There was Mog rating.
Yeah, okay.
Here we go. There's like a polarity mechanic which requires players to stay separated from one another. I think the intermission's actually going to be really challenging on this boss, and the damage check seems like it's going to be super tight.
2 Warlocks for 2 Warlock gateways, 1 for each group, I think is going to be big tech, so I'm not surprised to see them do that. But 4 Windwalkers are in here. Windwalkers are really good at this fight because they're very mobile, and they're just absurd single target right now. But the mobility is really important because you sometimes, whenever you have the red mines, they're always the outer ones. So whenever you have 2 sets of mines that are on the opposite sides of the room, the red players have to go basically to opposite sides of the room as each other to actually soak those mines. And they have to do it in a very short amount of time. So having a bunch of Windwalkers is great because they can do that. They can cover that ground super quickly.
Yeah, so going over to Warcraft logs, we can go and check the competition mode for the Race World First. And I think this is like a good point to kind of take a step and like look at the item level that these guilds kind of have against one another. And it looks like Liquid, Echo, and Method are all sitting here at this 656 item level. You know, they're all running similar-ish comps. It's not super surprising anymore. There's going to be some differences in some of the very specific specializations, but by and large, it's about the same stuff.
Yeah, it's let's scroll down a bit further. Let's all the Race World First guilds competing. Oh, there we go. There it is. Pop-Tart Corn Dog World Stix currently.
You taco.
You want the taco? Yeah, I got a Doritos Locos taco.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, and that one is that me? This is me. My nice. Thank you.
What did you even get?
These are Cinnabon Delights. These are they're nice. Nice little dessert thing.
Okay, so any final thoughts for the end of our recap?
They got to start playing like it might be a 3 reset tier as well.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part here.
I think Echo's actually playing quite well.
Echo looked so good on their like the start of their day today.
Dude, people were counting Echo out. And I think that people love to rewrite history because of how they actually looked on Queen Ansarek. But Echo last
They're
year,
really good.
Echo last year through Nerebar Palace actually looked really good, except for on Queen Ansarek, which they looked really bad. But I think that like long term,
And they only look bad on Ansarek in comparison to Liquid, who had the best boss of all time.
Exactly.
Any normal guild would have looked awful on Ansarek compared to Liquid. So I would say, yeah, I mean, Echo have looked really good here. They have the advantage of this, you know, they still have a lot of time left in this reset, so they might be able to get 5 or 6 bosses down when Liquid actually hit the reset, maybe still at 4 of 8. So we'll see how that actually shakes out. It depends on whether Sprocketmonger has a Titan Rage or not. Thank you, Kalamazi. And yeah, that's all I've got for this week. It should be a really exciting race.
Yeah.
We've got to buckle in because it's completely unpredictable from here whether the tuning is going to stay like this. And again, that week 2 gear might go a long way to spiking the player power level and making these bosses a lot easier.
I think that you have to be looking towards the reset. I think the additional crests, particularly the gilded crests and whatnot, are going to be going a long way.
I mean, it is definitely a 2 reset race. It might be a 3.
Exactly. And it's like, where are we going to be spending our gilded crests? We're probably going to be able to get a decent amount of just item level off of having more crests. Liquid is now starting to gear every potential composition that they ever could want
Lips
to
Warrior's been getting splits run for it. We've seen splits basically every day, but today we did splits to get another DPS warrior option. And it's not like they don't have DPS warriors, but a lot of their DPS warriors also play monk. So it's like, hey, we need an option for if we want to play 3 Windwalkers and 2 DPS warriors and a Mistweaver, because if we do that, we didn't have the second warrior geared under that exact constellation of circumstances.
But then they also have the Rep Paladin in case they don't need to play the Prop Paladin.
If you need to swap out the Prop Paladin into a Blood DK for a fight, then you need the Rep Paladin to come in. So there's a whole combination of things that often matters on an end boss. It is crazy that this level of class stacking is required for bosses 4 and 5 of the raid.
And now I think it's really telling going into the reset, like just having all those characters geared, it's gonna actually be a long-term benefit to Liquid. And I think that Echo's actually keeping pace. They're making sure that they're continuing to maintain all of their geared characters. They actually rolled up and they just had 3 geared Moonkins. I think that Echo's also playing 3 mages on Stix Bunkjunker at the current time.
That class looks really good for it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good specializations, and I think that it's gonna be a really long race. And I think you're just gonna have to like wait, watch, and I think One Armed Bandit has a high chance of also being a pretty challenging fight. So it might be a bunch of 60 to 100 pull bosses this tier.
I think if Echo get this boss dead within like a couple of hours of this video coming out, they're probably in the lead. If they get it down sometime later in their raid day, it's a nice tied race. And if they somehow go to bed tonight not having killed, then I think that Liquid will be firmly in the lead. But that would mean that they would have been pulling for like hours at a 2% best without getting a kill. And they've improved again down to a 1.5%. I think that's a new best from even when we started this video, when I think their best was a 2%.
Yeah, they about an hour ago they had a 2 enrage, 2.5% wipe. So.
Yeah, so I think they're very likely to get this kill soon, in which case they will get it earlier in their reset than Liquid did.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
Nope.
Kalamazi, any final thoughts, big dog?
Nope.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Live Moss.
Live Moss.
Where am I? Here I am.